James McKenna, born on Terra in the Canadian wilderness of the Yukon Territories, was recruited by the Alliance Global Militia, AGM. Although he had not initially considered a prolonged military career, he reconsidered after being awarded a scholarship to Annapolis Naval Academy. Unwilling to pass on this opportunity for deeper and more thorough education, he stayed. After graduating with honors, McKenna's early career in the Alliance Navy was marked by a pattern of recognition for his exceptional skills and demotions for poor behavior over his first 10 years of service. Eventually, he stabilized his conduct and worked to improve his reputation, maintaining his willingness to challenge the status quo. In 2295, McKenna achieved the rank of Fleet Admiral of the Alliance Navy. He initiated an ambitious plan to strengthen the Navy, which at the time was still primarily used for just transporting Alliance ground troops. Anticipating the end of the Alliance dominance as the sole interstellar nation, McKenna aimed to prepare his nation for a future full of challenges by developing a formidable naval force. This led to the creation of the first true combat jumpships, known as warships. By 2314, McKenna's plan had resulted in the production of the TAS Dreadnought and its 6 sister ships, along with other warships from the shipyards of Mars, Venus, and Terra. Despite criticism for the high cost and perceived lack of immediate threats, Kenna defended his vision. In a 2313 interview, he explained his motivations and his desire to see the ships he had built to serve the Alliance when needed, despite the problems posed by the increasingly unstable regime that governed Terra. In 2310, the two-party system between the expansionists and the liberals was broken when the People's Independence Party, PRP, was established within the Terran Alliance, positioning itself as the voice of the forgotten. The party swiftly gained a large following among the previously apathetic population by staging elaborate rallies, which garnered significant attention and monetary support. The PRP was led by Grand Zoli, the bastard child of a Kenyan mother and a New Zealander father. Growing up in the savage urban slums of New Zealand, Zoli's early life was marked by struggle. During a prison sentence for theft, he discovered his talent for science, history, and navigating bureaucratic rules. Post-prison, Zoli entered politics with a small local party, rapidly advancing to becoming Prime Minister of New Zealand and the head of a powerful political machine. His ambitions extended to interplanetary politics, where he aimed to amass wealth through the PIP. By 2310, the PIP had become a major political force, and Zoli found himself courted by both major political parties of the Alliance for support in the parliamentary elections of 2314. He delayed committing to either party, hoping to increase their offers of power and money. In August 2314, Zoli initially pledged support to the expansionists, but switched alliance to the liberals in September. On September 5th, 2314, Zoli was found dead in his New Zealand mansion. His death triggered immediate turmoil, with the liberal and expansionist parties accusing each other of a crime. Zealous PIP supporters initiated a wave of assassination against both parties. The Terran Parliament declared martial law, and the Alliance Global Militia was deployed to quell the rebellion in New Zealand. The liberals produced false evidence accusing the expansionists of Zoli's murder, further inflaming tensions. On September 30th, liberal Gauls attacked the expansionist headquarters in Zurich, leading to violent retaliations and widespread conflict. Both parties escalated the violence by deploying loyal soldiers, resulting in battles across the globe and significant civilian casualties. While some AGM units took side, most remained neutral. Admiral James McKenna, concerned about the escalating violence, requested the AGM's ground forces to intervene, leading to notable battles such as the Battle of Zurich and the Battle of Bangkok. McKenna then ordered the Navy's major warships and marine troop carriers to rendezvous with his fleet orbiting Mars. Attention all AGM members currently participating in the barbarities. Cease all hostile actions and return to your barracks, or I will bombard you into oblivion. Communique from Admiral James McKenna to the AGM ground forces fighting on Terra, June 2nd, 2315. The situation peaked on June 2nd, when a series of explosions destroyed strand rock in the North Sea and another island near Australia, causing global shock and temporarily halting the fighting. This dramatic turn of events underscored the severity of the Zoli Affair and its impact on the stability of the Terran Alliance. Then, a message from Admiral James McKenna was broadcasted worldwide. To the men and women of humanity's cradle, attention. This is Fleet Admiral James McKenna on board the warship Dreadnought. The destruction of the islands near Scotland and Australia was accomplished by the combined fleets of the Alliance Global Navy. I gave the order to open fire, and I am just as ready to give similar orders should anyone on Terra attempt to jam my message to its people. You have all been suffering through a bitter war. Many, mostly the innocent, have been injured or lost everything they own in the fighting. Even the fortunate few who have gone unscathed thus far must have some friend or loved one who has suffered. Terra has been a dark place these past few weeks, and little hope of getting brighter. As you know, what is the purpose of this suffering? Do you believe that this war is a true and honorable one that will make your lives any better? Do you honestly believe that if one side or the other wins, it will benefit you? It is my view that all of us have been duped by the lies and deceits of a few wily politicians. They have led you to believe that this war will somehow end your and the Alliance problems. Once and for all. They lie. They struggle for personal power, and not for your benefit. It is time for change. The government is corrupt and must go. We must bring back the voice of the people so that it may be heard. I propose the founding of a new government to replace the Alliance. A strong government, responsive to its people, unburdened by constant and useless elections. A strong government that will re-establish Terra as a proper center of humanity. Fellow humans, it is time that we cease to behave in the violent ways of Homo sapiens and begin to behave in the ways of Homo stellaris, men and women of the stars. Those who share this view need only lay down their weapons and return home to await further messages. Those who do not agree to a change had best be warned. I intend to hunt every last one of you and feed you to the public that has been so badly abused. Admiral McKenna's proclamation had a profound impact globally. Almost every militia unit engaged in the conflict ceased fighting and returned to their barracks. In numerous cities, citizens took to the streets in support of Admiral McKenna and his call for a new order. As promised by McKenna, the remaining officers of the Liberal and Expansionist parties were handed over to local authorities. Although these captives might have hoped for eventual release, McKenna's assumptions about the public sentiments were accurate. Most former leaders were imprisoned for long terms, 20 were executed and only 5 were freed. In the aftermath of the Alliance's sudden collapse, the Admiral, still aboard his warship, issued the Hegemony Charter. This document outlined a vision for what he described as a fair but responsive government free of all the vices and faults of the previous administration. The hegemony, as McKenna envisioned it, would dissolve the Alliance bureaucracy and establish a new class of officials known as planetary governors. These governors would be appointed to rule in the name of the hegemony. Ultimate authority would reside with a single head of state chosen, but not ruled by the people, suggesting a status just below that of a monarch. Contrary to some accounts, McKenna did not declare himself the leader of the new Terran hegemony. He was elected as the hegemony's first Director General and Lord Protector in February 2316. Available evidence suggests that the election was fair, despite the stipulation that McKenna would rule until his death or voluntary retirement. The reason the colonies broke from Terra was that the previous government treated them with either indifference or outright contempt. Now, things are different, and there is no longer any reason for them to remain out there in the cold. Director General James McKenna, as quoted in The First Lord Protector by Gregory Dunn, HBJ Interplanetary Press, 2345. Director General James McKenna embarked on a mission to ensure that all former Alliance worlds became part of his new hegemony. While most planets joined willingly, about a dozen required more persuasive methods, including political pressure and, in some cases, like Cav and Altair, military force. Once McKenna secured the space close to home, he turned his attention to worlds outside the hegemony's border. He used a combination of incentives and threats, including political propaganda and a flood of cheap consumer goods, hoping to create an economic dependence on Terra. Although these tactics had some initial success, most worlds, accustomed to Terra's previously indifferent behavior, prefer to remain independent. Recognizing the potential threat, some of these worlds banded together. Others allied with established realms, and many began to arm themselves in preparation for a possible conflict. McKenna's call for a united humanity and his promise to punish those who sought independence made it clear that he would not accept refusal. In March 2316, he set out with a large fleet of warships to subdue the wealthy independent worlds of Quentin, Arai, and Helen. These planets had recently formed a defensive pact, but knew they had little chance against McKenna's Blackwater Navy. They hastily converted cargo and messenger ships into makeshift battleships and strengthened their ground defense with militia and volunteers. But against the merciless firepower of the Hegemony Armed Forces, HAF, they were hopeless. The battles were intense and bitter, but they provided valuable lessons for future campaigns. The HAF developed a standard approach to bring worlds into compliance, which began with gathering intelligence on the target planets. Once the plan was devised, the necessary troops were assembled and transported to the combat zone. The initial phase involved securing the system's jump points with large warships to ensure safe passage for the troop-carrying JumpShips. Director General McKenna often led these efforts personally, commanding from his battlecruiser, the Black Lion. After securing the jump points, reconnaissance patrols were conducted to gather more information about the target world. These patrols, escorted again by warships, mapped the planet and potential opposition from local populations. With the intelligence gathered, the HAF commanders planned and executed the invasion. Troopships, escorted by warships, would move into orbit and deploy dropships targeting major cities, industrial centers, and water sources. Control over these vital areas usually forced the planetary governments to surrender, recognizing the futility of further resistance. Through these campaigns of persuasion, McKenna extended the hegemony to include over 40 worlds. The first campaign, beginning with Quentin, Orion, Helen, concluded with the capture of Tawny in 2317. The second major campaign, launched in 2320, captured terra firma and eventually extended to distant Nanking. Despite improved relations between the hegemony and the various pacts and confederations around it, there were still quite a few unaffiliated worlds that Director General McKenna considered fair game. In 2335, he launched his third and last major offensive to seize certain worlds that he considered vital to the hegemony's continued growth. Most of these planets lay toward the Federation of Sky, in what would one day be the Lyran Commonwealth. Two worlds, Surma and Galatea, became the focus of McKenna's plans. Drawing on hard-won lessons from previous campaigns, our glorious troops launched a successful offensive. With superior training and equipment, they swiftly captured Danibola, Milton, Alioth, Mizar, and Lyons. Morale was high among our strike forces, bolstered by the charismatic and intelligent leadership of Admiral Conrad McKenna, the son and heir of our beloved Director General. He had command over a massive Blackwater navy, numbering over 300 warships. As we advanced towards Galatea, a crucial objective, Admiral McKenna made a bold decision to forego the usual reconnaissance missions, believing the peaceful, technological backward inhabitants would offer little resistance. Contrary to expectations, the Galateans fiercely defended their planet with low-tech weapons and intimate knowledge of the terrain, leading to significant casualties. This miscalculation caused some commanders to question Admiral McKenna's judgment. However, true to McKenna's legacy, Conrad stood firm, maintaining high morale among our Navy High Command and troops. After a year-long battle, Galatea was subdued, setting the stage for the invasion of Surma, which began on July 23rd, 2338. In a strategic move, Admiral McKenna planned for troop ships and cargo vessels to jump simultaneously with warships, aiming for a swift takeover. He assumed Surma, populated by similar anti-tech colonists, would pose no significant threat. However, unbeknownst to us, Surma had secured a secret deal with a Federation of Sky, which deviously planted mines and sleeper missiles at key jump points. When our ships materialized, many were destroyed by them. The larger warships withstood the onslaught, but smaller troopships and cargo vessels suffered heavy losses. Only 2 of the 29 troopships survived, severely hindering our invasion capabilities. Despite this, Admiral McKenna pressed forward with a second wave, leading to further losses. Amidst the chaos, the Admiral's battleship remained unscathed. Misguidedly, he blamed Vice Admiral Harris Cather for the disaster, convening a court-martial amongst the wreckage. The trial, seen by many as unfair, stirred mutinous sentiment among the surviving crews. But in a dramatic intervention, Director General James McKenna himself arrived aboard the fierce Black Lion. Demonstrating true leadership and humility, he apologized to the survivors and stripped his son of all ranks. He ordered the fleet to return to Terra, ensuring that the values and integrity of the hegemony remained intact. Despite the tragic losses, we must recognize the strength and resolve shown by our leadership. Director General McKenna's swift action and accountability reaffirm our commitment to justice and unity. As we regroup and learn from this experience, the hegemony remains steadfast in its mission to unite humanity under fair and prosperous government. Impartial Observer, Terra, 2338. After these terrible and embarrassing events, it was clear that the days of House McKenna were over. Conrad McKenna was utterly disgraced and would spend the rest of his life in his London townhouse, in a jungle of houseplants and with an entourage of 50 cats. Director General James McKenna decided to reduce the pressure against him and his son by stepping down from his office. However, he died just a few days later, leaving the question of succession completely open. In the following election, a relative of McKenna would prevail, Michael Cameron. With him, the reign of his house started, and it would remain in power until the fall of the hegemony.